The bear was about 100 feet in front of my car when it stepped out of the woods. I took my foot off the accelerator and watched it move onto the road. One step, then another. And then I saw the limp.
It's a body rebels, where the truth gets told. Truth gets told about medical mysteries and growing old. Growing old with a little dark humor and a whole lot of grit. A lot of grit. When his body throws a tantrum, he rolls with it. Oh God, he rolls with it.
Welcome to A Body Rebels. I'm Tate. This podcast shares my personal experiences and is not medical advice. Please speak with your own provider before making medical decisions. The voice you're hearing is AI because illness makes speaking difficult, but the writing, memories, opinions, and experiences are mine. I'm talking about the injured bear I encountered on a country road and why the way it crossed that road felt so familiar to me. I was driving through rural Connecticut on one of those narrow roads where the houses are set far back from the pavement and the trees seem to lean toward each other overhead. There wasn't much traffic. No horns, no people rushing across an intersection, no delivery trucks parked with their hazard lights on while everyone tries to squeeze around them. Just the sound of the tires against the road and the occasional flash of sunlight breaking through the trees. Then the bear appeared. It stepped out of the woods and started across the road in front of me. I slowed down immediately and kept my distance. It was a black bear, large enough to command my full attention, but calm enough that I didn't feel I was watching a frightened animal trying to escape. It wasn't running. It wasn't darting across the pavement. It was walking. That's when I noticed its gait. One leg wasn't moving quite like the others. The limp wasn't theatrical. The bear wasn't dragging itself. There was no dramatic collapse in the middle of the road. But the injury was visible. Every few steps, its body shifted to compensate. I could see the effort even though the bear wasn't making a display of it. The road wasn't especially wide. Under ordinary circumstances, crossing it would have taken only a few seconds. Watching that bear, it felt longer. I found myself paying attention to each step. The placement of the paw. The slight hesitation. The weight moving from one side of its body to the other. Then the next step. The bear never looked toward my car as though it needed my approval. It didn't appear embarrassed by the limp. It wasn't trying to disguise it. It simply kept moving. Once it reached the other side, it disappeared into the trees. The whole encounter probably lasted less than a minute. I continued driving, but my mind remained on that stretch of road. I kept picturing the bear's uneven gait. Not because seeing an injured animal was pleasant. I hoped the injury was temporary and that the bear would recover. I had no way of knowing what had happened to it or how long it had been moving that way. What held my attention was the way it adapted. It didn't move as though nothing was wrong. Something clearly was wrong. It moved with the injury. I know that kind of movement. I've lived with sarcoidosis for 20 years. My body has accumulated diagnoses, limitations, scars, medications, implanted equipment, and a collection of symptoms that rarely consult my calendar before making themselves known. There have been plenty of moments when I've wanted my body to move as though none of that had happened. I've wanted the old stride. I've wanted the speed I once had. I've wanted to start a task without calculating how much energy it might require or whether I'll still be able to function after I finish it. I've wanted to walk into a room without first noticing the stairs, the distance, the temperature, the available chairs, or whether I have enough oxygen to remain there comfortably. My body doesn't always cooperate with those wishes. Some mornings, I know before I'm fully out of bed that the day will require negotiation. I move a leg and feel the stiffness. I sit up and wait for my breathing to settle. I stand and pay attention to whether my balance agrees with the plan. Before I've had coffee, checked a message, or looked outside, my body has already handed me information I didn't request. Not every day is terrible. Not every symptom is an emergency. But almost every day involves some level of adjustment. That's part of what people can miss when they picture chronic illness. They may imagine the major events because those are easier to recognize. Hospital stays, procedures, oxygen equipment, frightening test results. A new diagnosis delivered in a room with bad lighting, and a box of tissues placed within suspiciously easy reach. Those moments are real, but much of chronic illness happens in ordinary pieces of the day. It's standing in the shower and wondering why washing my hair requires a recovery period. It's reaching the top of a staircase and pretending I stopped to look at something rather than admitting I need a moment to breathe. It's putting medications on the counter so I don't forget them. It's choosing which task gets my energy and which one has to wait. It's sitting in the car for an extra minute before going inside because my body hasn't caught up with my schedule. It's saying, I'm fine, when what I mean is nothing new is happening. Those aren't quite the same thing. A person can become very skilled at making limitations look ordinary. The bear wasn't performing strength for anyone. There was no audience applauding from the trees. No inspirational music began when it reached the center line. It needed to cross the road, so it crossed the road using the body it had in that moment. That detail followed me. Using the body I have today has been one of the hardest parts of living with chronic illness. I still compare myself to earlier versions of myself. I remember what I could do without planning. I remember working long hours and expecting my body to keep up because I'd decided it should. I remember traveling with less concern about energy, breathing, medications, access, and recovery time. I remember being able to say yes before calculating the physical cost. Those memories aren't imaginary. They belong to me. But they can become unfair measurements when I use them against the body I'm living in now. I can look backward and turn my former abilities into evidence against myself. I used to do this. I used to manage that. I used to go there. I used to be able to finish the day without feeling as though someone had quietly unplugged me. The words "I used to" can turn into a courtroom if I'm not careful. The old version of me becomes the witness, the judge, and the standard I'm accused of failing to meet. Meanwhile, the current version of me is still here, doing the work of getting through the day. The bear didn't know what its gait looked like before the injury. It didn't appear to be studying its reflection in the side of my car and thinking, well, this is disappointing. It placed one paw down, shifted its weight, and continued. I don't want to romanticize that. Injury is painful. Illness is difficult. Physical limitation can be humiliating, frightening, expensive, inconvenient, lonely, and exhausting. Watching the bear didn't make any of those realities disappear. I didn't drive away cured of frustration. I didn't suddenly become delighted with every limitation my body has imposed. Acceptance isn't delight. It isn't approval. It isn't saying that pain is acceptable simply because I've survived it. For me, acceptance begins with accurate information. This is what my body can do today. This is what it can't do today. This is where the pain is. This is how my breathing feels. This is how much energy I have available. This is what needs to happen now. Once I know those things, I can make a decision based on the body I'm actually living in, instead of the body I wish had shown up. Some days, that decision is to continue. Some days, it's to slow down. Some days, it's to cancel something I wanted to do. Some days, it's to ask for help when I'd rather handle everything myself. Some days, it's to sit down before my body forces the issue. Rest can be part of moving forward, even when it doesn't look like movement from the outside. The bear didn't stop in the road while I was watching it, but I don't know what happened once it entered the woods. It may have found a quiet place and rested. It may have moved only a short distance. It may have spent the afternoon doing absolutely nothing productive by human standards. That would probably make it the wisest creature I saw all week. I've spent years attaching strength to output. How much did I finish? How long did I work? How many obligations did I meet? Did I remain pleasant while doing it? Did anyone notice how difficult it was? The last question can become especially important. When an illness isn't always visible, I can feel pressure to hide the limp. I may speak normally while struggling to breathe. I may keep moving while pain is spreading through my body. I may make a difficult task look easy because I don't want anyone to worry, interfere, pity me, or decide what I'm capable of without asking. Then I wonder why no one understands how much effort it took. That's a difficult contradiction. I want the struggle to remain private, but I also want the effort to be recognized. The bear offered no explanation for its limp. It didn't need to. Its body was doing the explaining. Human beings don't always receive that same grace. People may see someone walking slowly and become impatient. They may see a person sitting down and assume laziness. They may see a canceled plan and interpret a lack of interest. They may see a person who looks well and decide that person must feel well. I've been on the receiving end of assumptions, and I've made assumptions of my own. Seeing that bear reminded me how little I can know from a quick glance. A limp is visible evidence that movement is costing something. Chronic illness often charges the same price without showing the receipt. I also thought about speed. People tend to admire fast recovery. We like a clean story. Something goes wrong, the person receives treatment, the music rises, progress accelerates, the person reaches the finish line and becomes an example of what determination can accomplish. My life doesn't fit neatly into that shape. There have been recoveries, setbacks, stable periods, frightening changes, new treatments, old symptoms, and times when the best available outcome was simply preventing things from getting worse. There hasn't been one final scene where everyone announces that the illness is over. I wake up the next morning and continue managing it. That doesn't mean I've failed to overcome anything. It means my measurement of determination can't depend on reaching a permanent finish line. Sometimes determination is visible in repetition. Taking the medication again, going to the appointment again, explaining the symptoms again, getting dressed again, trying to eat properly again, using the oxygen when I need it, resting before I've completely emptied the tank, beginning another day without requiring myself to feel inspirational about it. The movement may be slow. It may not photograph well. There may be no medal waiting on the other side of the road. I'm still crossing. The phrase came to me as I drove. I'm still crossing. Not running. Not moving the way I once did. Not pretending the injury isn't real. Crossing. There are days when I cover a great deal of ground. There are days when the distance between the bed and the chair feels significant. Both belong to the life I'm living. Both require me to respond to the body I have. The bear wasn't less powerful because one leg wasn't working properly. Its injury changed its movement. It didn't erase what it was. I need to offer myself the same basic respect. My conditions have changed how I move through the world. They've altered my pace, my plans, my work, my energy, my relationships with time, and the amount of preparation hidden inside an ordinary day. They haven't removed my value. They haven't turned every slower step into a personal failure. They haven't made the effort invisible simply because the distance is smaller. I don't need to call pain a gift. I don't need to pretend I'm grateful for every medical complication. I don't need to turn suffering into an inspirational performance so other people can feel comfortable watching it. I can admit that I'm hurting and continue. I can admit that I'm frightened and continue. I can admit that I need to rest and continue later. I can move carefully without apologizing for my pace. I've spent enough time criticizing myself for limping through circumstances that would have stopped me completely years ago. I've looked at what I didn't finish and ignored what it took to begin. I've judged myself for needing recovery time without counting the energy required to reach that point. I've mistaken a slower life for a smaller one. The bear crossed a strip of pavement and vanished into the woods. It didn't know I was watching. It didn't know I would carry the image home. It didn't know that its uneven steps would give shape to feelings I'd struggled to describe. I hope its leg heals. I hope somewhere beyond the trees it found water, food, and a place where it could rest without danger. I also hope the next time I catch myself measuring my life only by speed, I remember what I saw through the windshield. A black bear. An injured leg. An empty Connecticut road. One careful paw placed in front of the other until the bear reached the woods. I'm Tate. Thanks for sharing this time with me. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep breathing, and remember, sarcoidosis is only rare until you're the one living with it.
It's a body rebels, where the truth gets told, it gets told about medical mystery. Life is a mystery, and growing old, we're all getting old, with a little dark humor, and a whole lot of grit, when his body throws a tantrum, so damn rude, he rolls with it. Oh, how he rolls with it. It's a body